Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning, and each week we bring you success stories from Triangle BNI. BNI is Business Networking International. It's the world's largest networking organization, and our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, if you're not from around here, it's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill in the central part of North Carolina. We have about 40 chapters, over 700 members that are either small business owners or work for a small business, and they are here to grow their business. And try BNI, and especially Triangle BNI, gives them ways to do that. And our guest today, Josh Oliver, president of Marrins Moving. Josh, good to have you today.
Hey, great to be here, man.
And
Excited about it.
another great small business success story. And if you're not familiar with BNI, it is like I said, there's 40 chapters in the Triangle area. It is seat specific. So Josh is the only mover in his chapter. So all the folks in his chapter get to know him. And when they've know people that are moving, they gotten to know Josh. They know his company, the reputation of his company. So they just pass him a quick referral. Business grows. And that's the beauty of BNI. And we'll talk more about how a regular BNI chapter goes and how it would benefit you or anybody you know that's looking to start their own business or grow their own business. It's a great way to go. So each week in a BNI chapter, there's a 5 or 10 minute featured speaker, depending on how big your chapter is. And they get introduced with the member bio sheet. So we're just going to go over this with Josh so everybody knows how it works. Speaker today, Josh Oliver, president of Marrins Moving. Location, where's the office?
We are based in Morrisville at the airport.
All right. Your years in this business.
I started with the Marrin family in January of 2015.
All right. And years the company has been around.
Gosh, they started in 1997, so they've been around for a little bit now.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Second favorite question in all of this: previous types of jobs, and you can even go back to high school to some of those fun jobs.
So fun fact about me is I grew up in Morehead City, North Carolina, down on the coast near Atlantic Beach and Beaufort, and absolutely wonderful place to grow up. I had, family, I had friends, I had beaches, but of course, you didn't have a mall, you didn't have an airport, you didn't have a movie theater, all those types of things. And so it was a lot of fun growing up there. Growing up there, my family, my dad was a local minister there. And I had 5 siblings, and we had a blast out there. So it was pretty fun. Pretty fun. Best place to get a job there was at the car wash. That's what I started my working career, it became very obvious that the people that were getting their car washed every week were the ones that were small business owners. They had areas of influence in the community. And so one of the best ways that I learned to build my network organically was to build relationship and make sure I do their car correctly. So that's what kind of started my organic, business networking environment before I ever even heard of BNI. So, it's fun times. It was a lot of fun times.
So you saw your share of salted and corroded cars, I'm sure.
Yes, we had quite a few that came through from up north, but you get the people from coming from the south or from inland, and they're like, "Well, I don't understand why my car's so hazy," and it's like, "Well, you're parked next to the ocean, so that's what's going to happen." So,
family information, your
yeah.
spouse.
I'm married to my supermodel wife, Victoria. We've been married now for 11 years. She is originally from Eden, North Carolina, but we met in New Bern, North Carolina when she was in high school. So we've technically been together now for about 15 years.
Is there a good story how
yeah.
you two met?
Yep. So, I was the cool guy in a band, and, she was a cheerleader, and, I was a little bit more of an athlete then than I was now, and that I am now. So, we had a good time. We had a lot of mutual friends. It's funny because I remember first time I saw her, I was like, wow, she is absolutely stunning. But I'm sure she's incredibly high maintenance. And and sure enough, she was. So we dated other people at the time for a little bit, but we wound up having just a great friendship, and that's where it started. So
Oh, good.
She's stuck with me through thick and thin now for quite a while, and through a lot of different careers, and it's been a beautiful thing.
There you go. I like the supermodel wife intro. Very well done. Children.
Children, yes. So I have a 5-year-old girl named Jewel. She started kindergarten this past week, so and she
Nice.
lost her first tooth yesterday, so that's kind of a big deal. And then I've got 2 sons, Luke and Levi, 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they are just an absolute hoot to watch. It's a lot of fun.
What's the going rate in the Oliver house for a tooth?
As of this morning, it was 99 cents. So
Is that all you had, or did you agree on that number beforehand?
Maybe both. I don't know. The tooth fairy's a little bit weak these days, so we need to get him into BNI. So it's all good.
But I'm okay with you on the 99 cents. I hear the $5 stories. I'm like, no,
it's like, my daughter's 5 years old. She loves to get little random things at the dollar store. So, and you always feel like you have more money when it's change versus paper.
Oh, yeah. Very good point.
So she got 99 cents.
Any animals at the house?
I have 2 dogs, Ollie and Casey, both cockapoos. They are absolute joy as well, part of the family. Ollie was a rescue from Wilmington, and Casey was a rescue from Kansas City when I was out there. Brought her home as well.
Wow.
So 2 cockapoos are hyperallergenic, so they don't shed or stink, which is very helpful for those of us that have hardwood floors. So.
And dogs and kids, everybody gets along?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hobbies and animals. We did that. Hobbies and activities of interest.
Well, I love sports. I've always been a big fan of sports. Music, it's been a huge part of my life for a long time. And, I spend a lot of time with the family these days. It's major daddy time, every day. So I love that. It's like my new hobby is just taking my kids out and doing fun, random things because everything's a new experience for them. So a lot of fun.
And the outside growing up was the ultimate playground.
Yes.
Didn't need anything plugged in the
absolutely.
house. Just go outside and you never know.
Run around,
Yeah.
jump on things, throw things,
Yeah.
build things.
Get tired, go to bed early.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Your burning desire is to?
Burning desire is probably to serve people. I've just always been in the business of serving people, empowering people. I love that. I love being able to be a catalyst in someone's life. I love being able to take what they think is normal and blow that out of proportion and shake them up a little bit and make them go into another dimension of what they never thought was possible. Done that in a lot of different spaces in business and in my personal life. And so it's really engaging for me. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Very nice. The key to your success is what?
Never be the smartest person in the room. Mm-hmm. Always have way more qualified and way smarter people working with you.
Very nice.
To handle whatever task that you have. And so really the only success that I've had is that I've been able to find and partner with amazing people. And a lot of that's through building a network.
Very nice. And the best question on here for me is something no one knows about you.
When you first look at me, you're like, okay, I would never guess this, but I was a rock drummer in a band that toured all over the world. For about 8 years, we did about 250 shows a year all over North America and Europe. And so looking at me and my dad's self, you would never assume that I've played every cool venue you could ever imagine and climbed the charts and been around amazing musicians that were influencers in many, many different styles of music. So I was blessed to be around, again, a bunch of way more qualified musicians than myself. And we traveled all around and did some amazing things. We played the biggest venues you can imagine. We played the Rose Bowl. We played all the House of Blues. We played arenas. We played stadiums. We played, massive festivals, fun stuff. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Did you like the more intimate venues versus the Rose Bowl size?
It depends. Anytime you see 50,000 heads, in front of the stage, all jam into whatever music you're playing, it's a pretty cool sight. It's not as intimate, of course, because you don't really see their faces as well. But when you're in a smaller venue like the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona, you play in the round. So the stage actually circulates um, throughout the concert. And the stage, people are all the way around you. There's only about 2,000 people in there. But when you put them in the circle, you're like staring at their faces. And so, like, for me playing the drums, that was a really weird feeling because at points of the concert, it was just me looking directly into someone's face while I'm playing the drums, which was pretty fun. And then you play, smaller venues. Like I love seeing bands at like House of Blues because that's a perfect size venue to see and get a really good feel of whatever music you're into at the time. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
And that band, it's Decipher Down.
Decipher Down.
You were one of the original members.
Mhm.
In 2010, you guys were Grammy nominated.
Yes. We went to the Grammys. That was an amazing opportunity to be in a room with everybody you could ever imagine, from classical to hip hop to hard rock to country. And, of course, we brought the wives to that one. That was a cool
Yes, wise move.
And do the red carpet. And, I remember going to the after parties and, you see Celine Dion and Weird Al Yankovic and, everybody you can think of, Metallica, and, it's just crazy. It's like, how did a bunch of Eastern North Carolina boys that used to jam at the, storage unit in their boxers, sweating to death, trying to find a tune to play, get it all the way there. But that's a true testament of what you can do if you put your mind to it. So,
were you surprised by the nomination?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's the pinnacle of your musical career to be nominated for something like that. Yeah, I mean, we were shocked. We were on tour at the time. I remember calling our manager. He had called me like 10 times. And of course, when you're on tour, there's no real clocks. You just wake up and it's a series of naps. So we had a series of naps for about 8 years, where you're constantly in movement. You're on a tour bus, you're doing radio, you're writing songs, you're playing shows, you're doing meet and greets, and you're eating, and you're, somewhere in there you might watch a movie, and then it's like all over again, over and over and over. But remember the manager had called us and gave us the news, and we were going down the road somewhere, and we were just absolutely blown away. So, yeah, it was awesome.
And did you have to practice your look on camera if you didn't win?
Well, we had a stylist, and they were like, what are we going to do with this guy? Because everyone else was cool, right? Everyone else had tattoos, and they had all kinds of, jewelry and, all the fun looking stuff, long hair. Then there was Dad. They called me Dad because I was the only one that looked normal, I should say. But it's all good.
In the band?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's who, when you're referring to we, that's who we is, right?
That is. Yeah. I mean, traveling. Even to this day, everyone refers to me as Dad. I don't know. Make sure everyone's there at the right time and sing the right songs, and
And you had a string of #1 hits.
Yeah, we had 7 #1 hits. Yeah.
Did you write any of those?
I wrote every single one of them.
Oh,
yeah.
did you really?
Yeah, collectively we all wrote them. Yeah.
Okay. And this was a Christian rock band.
We did. Yep.
Okay. You're nominated in that category.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be cool.
Yeah.
Not only getting the phone call, but like you said, once you're there, it's like, what are we doing here, right?
Yeah, it was incredibly surreal. So a lot of the bands that we toured with all the time, we were what they would call a crossover artist because we would play in what they would say, mainstream rock, along with Christian artists like POD, Switchfoot, Flyleaf. All those bands were popular on the Christian side. Need to Breathe. Played with a lot of those bands rolling through, but most of the time we were on tour with secular bands, and so. You would Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, Nickelback, all those kinds of bands. Shine Down, Alter Bridge, a lot of fun bands that were in the same genre, and we, there's only so many places you can play that kind of music anyway. So, it was pretty fun.
All right. Well, Josh is a member of RD16, Research Triangle Professionals. They meet Friday mornings, 9:15 at North Carolina Wesleyan Aspire. So if you have Friday mornings open and you're wanting to meet some good people that can get to know you, you can get to know them, refer them some business, and they will refer you business to help you grow yours. Please visit them. So, State of the Union, here it is, August 2018. What's the status of Marrins Moving right now? How are things looking?
We are on a absolute tear of a growth curve right now. So we've it's been a definitely a season of change in 2018 for Marins. Um, we right now we are at about 65 employees. We have two warehouses. We run about 25 trucks a day. We have a full commercial division, residential division, courier and white glove delivery division. We also have international shipments that we do for origin and destination services. Um, we're a North American van line agent for this region now. We're the official mover for Duke University and UNC, their athletic departments and arts and sciences, and so we've got crews there every day. So there's a lot of moving parts these days. Yeah.
What's the natural growth in all those different segments in the business for you guys?
Well, for me, not really being in the moving industry growing up, um, it's typically very cyclical in terms of revenue. So most moving companies are residential only,
Mhm.
and or they might say they do commercial, but they're like 95, 98% residential, which is moving in the summertime is a booming time. Wintertime's really slow. So it's usually, you're fat and happy in the summer and then starving in the winter, right? And so when I first came into working with the Marrin family at Marrins Moving, that's the kind of company that they had. It was just a great quality, small family business that only did residential. And so, from my background in small business, um, I always knew that multiple revenue lines is the way to go
Mhm.
if possible. And I was like, well, if we have qualified manpower, trucking, warehousing, those wheels and those guys need to be working year round. And so I started developing multiple revenue lines and building partnerships and so it's funny because I had come from a B2B background and um, I remember January 1 of 2015 when we started this reboot of Marrins Moving and rebranded and restructured. It was just me in the office and Rob, who's my business partner, Rob Marin, who started the company, out doing on-site estimates, and we had four movers and three trucks in about a 35 to 4,000 square foot warehouse, and over in Morrisville as well. And I was like, I need to go out and meet people. I don't know anybody in Raleigh because I come from the coast. I just had recently moved up here from Wilmington, and and I've always had an organic network of people that of my whole career in different areas that I've been in. But I come to the big city of Raleigh, of course, and uh, like, how am I going to get connected to so many different types of people? And so started looking around, asking, trying to build my own organic network. That first part of 2015, and a couple people recommended BNI, and I was like, never heard of it. That sounds exciting. Seat specific. It's chapters all over the world. This sounds pretty cool. So um, I literally Googled it and it popped up, RTP BNI. And I was like, oh, they meet right down the street from my office on aviation. And that was the very first one I visited, is the first one I joined. So I walked in there, it was very open and hospitable and some great uh, professionals, many, many different
Mhm.
areas of service. And so um, that's how I started my BNI partnership, I guess you'd say. Yeah.
And if you want to get in touch with the folks at the Triangle BNI office, you can give them a call at 919-465-1667 or the website here, trianglebni at yahoo.com. Steve Hand, the executive director, Mary and Brenda in the office, any of the three can help them give you a better understanding of what it is, kind of help you figure out what you're looking for. send you a couple chapters that you would be a good fit for to visit, find some natural referral partners, and see if we can't get you in one of these chapters and help grow your business. So when you walked into BNI, you did not know anybody.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I always like asking people your reaction when you walked in the meeting and your reaction when you left the meeting. Were they the
Right,
same? How
right.
different? Like, holy cow.
So we had, I guess to rewind a little bit further back than that, Marrins Moving had been based in the Bronx in New York up until that point. So their banking relationships, their insurance, their everything that they did corporately was based in New York.
Okay.
And so I I knew if you're trying to build a local family-owned business based here in Raleigh, then we need to be working with companies based here. And not to mention doing business in New York was a crazy show anyway. So that was the first thing I did when we hit the reboot button in January is shut down New York as an entity and reopen it in North Carolina. So I started Googling, asking some people, looking around, and I ran into Kim Davis with the Pay Stub people.
Mm-hmm.
She saved the day on our payroll. I was like, "Oh, you're amazing!" And she was like, "You ever heard of BNI?" And I was like, "No, what is a BNI? It sounds exciting. Is there food there? You know, that kind of stuff." And she was just great, and she just gave me all the information. That's when one of the people that had referred me over. I also had ran into a guy, Chuck Laverdier from Stonewall Structural Engineering, and he was a member of that group that I wound up going to, the RD16. And so I went to my first meeting, walked in, see about 40 people, 45 people in the room. Very organized, people randomly standing up and saying these 30-second intros and stuff. I'm like, who's cueing them? Like, what is the deal here? And I was like, I liked it because it was the quickest 90 minutes I've ever been in a meeting. Right. So, which is important when you have, a million other things to do. So immediately connected with Paul Stinson, one of the best realtors in our area. Of course, a great referral source for us in the moving and storage business. I was able to get a lot of services out of that group to be able to help bridge the gap in our company immediately. And I just love the whole mantra of know, like, and trust, and having that value system with the relationships that you're able to build. And it really resonated with me. And I was like, wow, this is like an official version of what I've always done in my whole life, but now it's more organized and it can be reproduced, and it has been reproduced all over the country. So it's very good.
One of the things I like about BNI as well is not only can you find natural referral partners, but you get to meet all these partners for you that now you can go to your client. You look like the hero. Oh, I've got an HVAC person. I've got an accountant. I've got this, that, and the other. So like, well, I'm just going to call Josh. If I need anything, I just call Josh.
Right. And that's a great place to be in, because you all of a sudden know and have a established relationship and can refer people that will give people an excellent job or excellent work and at a great price, and back up what they say they're going to do, or they have to answer to me, or answer to someone else. So, very much impressed with not only how Steve Hand, who's the executive director here, how he's been able to make this community flourish through networking and intentional B2B and B2C companies, but he's extremely active as well in the day-to-day, in the chapters, and making sure people are held accountable to making it worth something. He's making it count everywhere he goes. So
yeah, when he took this area over, I mean, it just blew up. I mean, he got the procedures, the structure in place, so people like us could join one and feel like you said, that's a great 90 minutes.
It is. It's the quickest and most efficient 90 minutes of the week.
Yep. So very few people have a music and supply side management background that you have. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say you don't see those two married up together. So once you join BNI and you kind of got a feel for the chapter, what kind of supply side management, growth, all that stuff, how did you use that? How did you marry your background with what that BNI chapter can offer you? to help grow Marrins once you join them?
So, moving and storage companies are typically large entities or they're small family businesses. There's not a lot
Mm.
of medium size moving companies, especially that are independent. There's a lot of national franchise versions and things like that that are quasi, you know, uh, self sufficient in terms of a lot of the day to day tasks. But a lot of the guys that own moving companies are the guys that are working every day in the business. So they're the ones scheduling the trucks, they're the ones doing the on-site estimates, they're the ones, handling any particular customer issues or training them in or getting oil changes in the trucks. There's a lot of little tasks that has to be done. So as we continue to build and grow the company and set off um, the plan that we had in play, I was able to then use my group as a sounding board for not only advice on the breakaway smaller power teams, but also to get connection points to areas that I wanted to build relationship with certain companies, um, and and other personal relationships that people had. So it's always very good to be intentional about who you want to meet and what their names are and what companies they are, because every week someone says something and
Mm.
I can speak to that, or someone sitting next to me can say, "Oh, I went to high school with them," or I just finished doing a deal with them myself. And it's crucial when you're trying to grow a business.
And what Josh is talking about in each meeting, we go around the room and the members, depending on the size of your group, you're be able to stand up and talk for anywhere between 30 seconds and 60 seconds. And you stand up, tell who you are, what you do, and who you're looking for. And the more specific you can be, the better off you're going to be. Because a lot of people stand up, and you a perfect example for a mover is you would stand up and say, I just want to meet people that are moving. That doesn't generate anything from anybody
Hmm.
because you're like, oh, I don't think I know it.
Yeah, people don't
I'm
move for fun.
exactly. I'm
It's
not,
like,
yeah.
well, let's go
And
move
you
this Friday.
and you vow never to move
I've
till
heard
the
there's
next
great
time, right?
rates
Yeah.
on Friday nights at 7.
So it is, really, is that how the Duke and the UNC
Mm.
relationships came about?
No, so um, I guess to give you a little bit more of a synopsis on where I came from in my business careers is in a small community back in Morehead City, Carter County. I was the only one in my high school class that did not go to college because I had that entrepreneurial bug immediately, right? And my parents always raised us, if you wanted to have something, if you wanted to um, achieve something, you could figure it out and get out there and get your hands dirty and make it happen. And so I had some friends that had some business backgrounds, and I was involved with a pest control company. I did carpet and upholstery cleaning company, a lot of service type businesses because they thrive if you do an excellent service at a great price, especially on the coast. No one wants to see bugs, and no one wants
Yeah.
to have dirty carpets. So through my career and and then of course that big intermittent music career thing there, but that was a once in a lifetime deal where I sold everything I owned and jumped in a van and hit the road and never looked back. Um, and so all through that, what served us well in the music business as well is just creating relationships with people that believed what we believed, and that I knew them and I liked them, I trusted them, and because in like any other industry, it's more importantly who you know and who you're able to establish rapport with and can do life together with, more than it is how smart you are or what your degree says or what you feel like you're entitled to, right?
Mm.
So I have these conversations with people all the time, right? I'm like, it doesn't really matter. You have an MBA, but you still can't figure out a scheduling sheet. This is not good. So I fast forward, the music industry died. Um, the whole industry was crashing all around. We were at the top of the food chain in 2010, 2011. And I'm saying this because I'm sure there's people that are going to be listening that are in a what do I do now mode. How do I build my business? Should I be start my own business? Should I why am my sales lagging as a salesperson or any of those types of scenarios? So I want to encourage you that as you go through these phases and these seasons of life, that no matter what you're doing right now, you can't let the circumstances around you dictate the response that you're going to have. And that response should be to build rapport, to build trust, to provide a service, and to provide value for someone's life, whether that be a business or whether that be a personal relationship. And so I remember sitting on my couch in Wilmington, and the record labels, we were on Columbia Records, they're all getting bought up and eaten with other companies. And I remember sitting there, and of course, all the other band guys were, we're going to write another record. And I'm like, I remember sitting there thinking, I can either sit here and play video games and get extremely fat and be a great Madden football player, or I can reinvent myself and go back to work and just find a way. Right. And I knew I wanted to have kids. My wife and I were married. And I remember I just have to hit the restart button. So 3 months prior to that epiphany that I had sitting on the couch with a bowl of chips, was I got to redo my life, and I can't blame the music industry on my peril. I can't blame everyone else for my, lack of funds or opportunity. I just got to go out and figure out another way to do it. So I remember I filled out a resume for the first time in my life, and I remember thinking I didn't know anybody. I've been traveling the world for the last 8 years. I just knew my wife and her family, and they didn't know anybody. And I went to a temp agency, and I said, just put me somewhere. I don't care where. Just put me somewhere. I'll figure it out from there. Of course, I show them my resume, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is $8 an hour, this job, and I'm like, and I share this with like the guys on our team, and I share this with people quite a bit, is that it doesn't matter what you're being paid to do, whatever task it is. You provide the value, and your ability to bolster and to provide that value to that company or to that relationship will determine your value. And so I remember going to Pepsi. They put me with Pepsi in the first place because I had 1.1 million miles logged as a commercial driver at the time. So they were like, okay, you're qualified to drive a Pepsi truck, right? Talk about backbreaking work, delivering 1,000 cases of Pepsi a day on the beach, in the convenience stores and whatnot. Oh, it was brutal, very humbling. And because I remember sitting there on the truck, sweating to death, working 15, 16-hour days in the summertime for $8 an hour. Wow, 3 months ago, I had thousands of people wanting to get my autograph, in a sold out show like in Toronto, and it's like, wow, life has an interesting way of giving you opportunities to succeed. So I remember the second day that I came into Pepsi, and they didn't give me a uniform or anything. I was a temp. I look over and I see all the other temps, and I'm like, wow, they look like they just had a hard night somewhere. I'm going to Walmart and buying me a uniform that looks like these Pepsi drivers. Third day, I show up. I'm looking like I work at Pepsi all of a sudden. Everyone's like, dang, did you get a job, man? It was cool, man. I'm like, I didn't get a job. I'm still making $8 an hour, but I look like I'm making 15. And sure enough, opportunity then followed. And I was able to create value for the relationships that I had in that company and build a rapport. And the next thing led to the next thing. Job led to the job, all temp jobs. And next thing you know, I got into the business of courier work and distribution, and all that stuff made sense. Logistics, service, anything service related where I was providing a service. So fast forward a couple more years, I had the contract for Ford, contract for John Deere, Train HVAC. I provided all the distribution. I was a COO of a large courier company. That's what brought me to Raleigh. So I'm saying all that to say, no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing as you're going through the seasons of life and you're building your network and you're trying to find people to partner with, organizations like BNI are catalysts to help you do that. But ultimately, it relies on you and your aptitude to be able to have the right attitude and to be able to have the right approach for whatever the circumstances are thrown at you. So when I ran into BNI, I was like, wow, this is a structured environment that allows people to be accountable, but also to build rapport and build relationships with each other. and we go to bat for each other. We're when our kids are sick, we're there. When someone's losing their business, we're there. When someone is in the hospital, we're there. And that's really the true meaning of BNI for me, is that um, we are living life together. And I know it's just for a season. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be in BNI the rest of my life. I don't even know what the next 6 months to a year hold. But I do know that if I can pay attention to what I've been tasked to do right now and building what I need to build right now, then opportunities will always be there. And the way to provide for your family will always be there. And you can't let pride get in the way. You can't let I made this much before.
Yeah.
I can't let haters, the term haters, steal my joy. Because there's a lot of people because we're in the business of serving people, and guess what? We're still humans. You can't make more iPhones. You can't build a bigger machine to make more things. Every day we fail. That's the simple fact of it. Every day we fail. And so as we continue to progress as a company with Marrins Moving, we're trying to find the right people, the right attitudes, the right personalities to work together to be able to serve someone. So there's been times where Marrins Moving has failed on a level that is very frustrating for someone like myself, or myself in dealing with someone in particular. But at the end of the day, I kind of remind myself that I'm still going through the same journey as everyone else, right? And we cannot let our emotions take control. So I say all that to be an encouragement for one, because I've met a ton of people in our BNI network that are at a crossroads in some way or another, and I would say stick to it, and find and build those rapport with people that are in the network, because we're all fighting for the same thing, which is to create a better life for ourselves and for the people around us.
And one of the many things I like about BNI is that the mixture of people in the room, you've got solopreneurs, you got family-owned companies, you got some bigger companies where they don't own, but they're a salesperson, a marketing person for that. So when you walk in the room, it's a wide array of backgrounds and knowledge, and you can kind of pick their brains as well to help out.
Oh, without question. Yeah. I mean, that's back to my, my secret sauce is make sure you're not the smartest
Yeah.
guy in the room. Right. And I love being able to go to the power teams, go to the after hours events that we have, or go to other BNI chapters and find people that they might be in another business. This has happened to me. I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest with you. I've gone to other BNI chapters and they're not all the same. They're like fingerprints. They're all different. They all have their own personalities. They all have their own mix of characters. I'm on the membership committee of our BNI, and every time I stand up to talk about the membership committee report, I say I'm one of the people that make sure there's no one normal that gets into our group, right? only extraordinary individuals, right? And but I've gone to other networking events and sometimes have hit it off with people, and other times I'm like, yeah, I'd rather not probably do business with them just because you don't like them. You have to know, like, and trust someone.
You do.
And thankfully, the BNI system allows you to be as efficient as determining that as possible.
And one of the things Josh has mentioned a couple of times is the power teams within BNI, and it's business to consumer, business to business, financial, and personal services. And depending on what industry you're in, you would fall into that. And on the well-run chapters, those power teams get together once a month, and you really have a chance to drill down into not only what is going to help your individual business, but what kind of seats do you need to fill to make the chapter better.
Right. It's it's obviously been well thought out. They did a good job with that, but yeah, highly recommend it. Anytime anyone if you're new to the community, if you're in a stagnant point in your career, if you're looking for an opportunity to build your business, if you're looking for an opportunity to expand your horizons, BNI is definitely the place to do it.
And you have had other employees in other chapters.
Yeah, definitely. We through different roles, salespeople, marketing people, business development people, different chapters, again, whatever chapter fits their
Mm.
personality the best. And it's been very, very helpful.
One of the things that, again, with BNI that we talk about, at the end of the day, we're all there for business because we want to grow our business, make some money, take care of the family, some of the things you're talking about earlier. Is there a percentage you can talk about for growth since you've joined BNI and kind of put your thoughts into place for Marrins Moving?
Yeah. So I think that, I kind of was a little bit more strategic in trying to capture those numbers at the beginning of my relationship with BNI because just didn't have any idea how it worked. Because when you read about it and you see it, and you see the thank you for closed business that we, share every week, and you're like, wow, there's just some big numbers, but I don't know if I have any of that, and it's like, how does this work? Right. So I started getting a little bit more intentional when we first started to track that. And our business in 2015 probably grew close to 35% from just the BNI relationships that I had. And it was huge. It was huge. I mean, it was the investment that you make in your membership was paid for
Oh,
10 times over. And it was very, very beneficial for everybody. So it's still a very active part in our business, even though we've grown rapidly. We've doubled every year for the last several years, and it's part of my weekly routine is to do my one-to-ones, check in on guys that I haven't talked to in a while, make sure that we're staying engaged with each other.
mm. One of the things that Josh was talking about paying off your membership is it's $445 a year to be in BNI, $150 initial fee, but it's $445 a year. And if you think about his company, which is a little bit more than probably $60,000-$70,000 a year, but if they grew at 35% a year, just do the math. Just on you paid that till your kids probably could join BNI, but that's the beauty of that. But you have to work it. You got to get engaged. You got to do the one-to-ones. And you talked about going to visit other chapters. I know there's a handful of movers in Triangle BNI, so that affords you the luxury to go visit, doesn't it?
It is. It is. There's a lot of other members and different types of businesses that are out there as well. And what's funny, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it too, is that I've ran into a lot of people that are, oh, I would never go to BNI again. Oh, they're too militant about this or that or whatever. And I'm like, well, proof's in the pudding, man. It's
Yeah.
like if you're not being strategic in your approach to building your business and structuring your life in a way that you can be accountable and not just blame it on someone else for your failures. Um, it's a little bit painful when someone's saying to you, "Hey, you didn't call this guy back, and you
Yeah.
didn't give this guy the right quote, or you really screwed this guy up, and you didn't take care of him." Um, yeah, that can be a little bit uncomfortable, but
And
you
we've
got
all
you got to be able to get past it, right?
and we've all met those people, and you find out they're part of whatever organization. It could be their industry organization, a chamber, or whatever. And you ask them, "Hey, how's it going there?" I'm not going to re-up there. Well, how come? He goes, "Well, I don't get any business out of it." Do you go very often? No, I don't go anymore because I don't get any business. That's not how it works.
No, it's not. It's completely based on the ability that you're able to give to your community. The more that you give, the default will always be to be able to receive in return. But your first approach for every relationship should be, how can I better this person's life, and how can I meet the needs in my area of expertise to sustain whatever situation that they have, and make it better in whatever capacity it can be. It's not just about passing out business cards and slapping each other on the back and grabbing a beer after hours or doing whatever the scenario is. It becomes very draining. And then at the end of the day, you're 30, 60, 90 days into starting your own business and you have no sales.
But you have 180 business
But you have a
cards
lot of
people you
business
met,
cards
right?
that you
Yeah.
can keep you warm in the winter.
One of the things we talk about each week, again, that I like about BNI are the quality of people in there, because a lot of times there are community leaders that volunteer a healthy amount of their time to get back to the community. A couple of things you've been involved with in the past: Habitat for Humanity.
Hmm.
Are you the builder? Are you? They
I've
give you a hammer and a couple of
I've done
nails.
a few things. Normally it's odd because it's like if I'm on a roof trying to help build a house for Habitat in Raleigh, I'm still getting hit by seagulls. I'm like a target for that, so I'm always bringing several changes of shirts because for some reason I'm getting pooped on. But anyway, that's my own little Habitat problem, first world problems. Um, but no, I love Habitat. I love anything that has to do with giving back to the local community. Our company in particular, we have a big push. We support a lot of missions overseas. We do the domestic violence moves for Interact here in Wake County. We do a lot of work with the food banks and local churches and like when the hurricane hit Harvey, we loaded up a couple tractor trailer full and brought it supplies out to them, and there's a lot of things that we do with the areas that we can do it. Trucking, manpower, warehousing. If there's a way to give back, we will, and because that's ultimately the goal is to leave a legacy that can do so much more than just throwing cash in a bank account. So.
And again, I go back to, and I preach this every week, that the value of the people you meet in BNI, wonderful, because the giver's gain, to grow, you're going to have to give first. And part of that is not only referral to your fellow members, but also back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Another group you've been involved with is the C12 group.
Yeah. So it's an advisory, kind of like a boardroom setup that's a bunch of Christian businessmen, all sizes of businesses, from startup companies to multi-million-dollar enterprises. And we meet once a month. It's a great organization. There's another organization called Vistage that's very similar. C12 Group is got a more of a Christian focus on how to be a great leader in your company and how to help benefit your people and making sure you're taking care of them and holding yourself accountable. And then we sharpen each other up with our business practices and hold each other accountable. And so I've been a member of that for a couple of years now. It's a nationwide organization as well that's specifically for C-level business owners. And we put our business plans out on the table and have everyone pick away at it and tell us what we're doing wrong. And it's a great organization.
And that goes back to your don't be the smartest guy in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're going to learn a bunch,
Man,
right?
I love sitting there at the table and I'm like, hey, this guy's got a pharmaceutical company. This guy's got a tech company. This guy's got a engineering company. This guy's a lawyer. This guy, and it's like, this is like a financial planner and all these different things that are there to pick and pry at my business. And so, I spend a full day once a month. And we get around a big round table and we dig into each other as healthily as possible. But there's food.
Oh, there you go.
So there's food involved.
Another recurring.
So I got that going
show,
for me.
So a couple things I was on your website prepping for the show here. I saw a couple things jumped out at me. You break down areas, Cary, Wake Forest, Raleigh, Durham, and all that. You literally have a tab on there that says Cary Movers.
Mm-hmm.
How did all that come about, and how has that helped streamline the business for the customer?
Right. So as we all know, the Triangle is an incredibly diverse group of people. Wake Forest is vastly different than Garner, and Garner is vastly different than Cary, and Durham is different than everyone else. And then there's Chapel Hill, and no one's quite figured them out yet either. So as on our website, it specifically has different cities on it because there's people from different areas and they all have different needs. So strategically, our SEO company and our tech company that handles all of the website, we're very strategic in how we approach that per city.
And it helps the bottom line for the customer on being more efficient on how they're being billed, spending their money, and all that.
Sure,
stuff, right?
absolutely. A lot of people don't realize as well is that our industry is regulated by the state. So any household goods move in the state of North Carolina, the Utilities Commission is our governing body. They set the rates, they set all the parameters, they do all the insurance, they do everything. And that's why it's crucial that if anyone's picking a mover, that they're licensed by the Utilities Commission. They have an NCUC number because it gives them a sense of confidence, I guess, when they're hiring the movers. Otherwise, you never know. You might just hire some guys you met online that appear they have a 919 number that they're going to give you a great rate and they're really great on the phone, and they show up and they're actually some company from like Miami, and you may or may not ever see your stuff again. And that happens all the time. All the time.
And that leads into what I was going to ask you. What I enjoy during sometimes during the 5 and 10 minute speaker time is they talk about, because every industry has myths, because we all think we know, oh, movers do this, and that's not the case. So give us a couple myths about your industry.
Probably the biggest myth, especially in today's "I want it now" mentality, is that you got a 5,000 square foot house. You finally found your other house. You're getting ready to move, and your moving day's Friday, and today's Wednesday, and you're like, "Oh, honey, call one of the movers and see if we can get some movers over here to move this house." Or same day, maybe it's Friday. Your closing was yesterday. Now it's time to move. They call Friday morning. I need 4 guys and 2 trucks. This isn't McDonald's. So we don't have this guy sitting in the warehouse waiting for a job, right? So it's all pre-planned. The further out you can plan, the better. And so that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that people expect instant service for a job that's very, very manually intensive. So hacking, loading, unloading, truck availability, time slots, qualified men. All of our guys you can't have any felonies to work for us, which eliminates about 85% of our workforce in the traditional moving and storage business. So that's a stance that we've decided to take, several years ago, is no felonies, regular drug testing, background checks, of course. They have to be certified with AMSA. All those types of things that don't eliminate any particular problems, but they certainly hedge off a lot of the headaches that you can potentially have on a move. So,
yeah, like I said, everybody thinks that we know. Oh, they'll just show up with a truck, they'll back it up, and they'll load it. And you don't really, if you haven't moved in a while, sometimes you don't understand what exactly goes on.
I don't have that much stuff.
Yeah. How big's your house? I don't know.
And that's what's really crazy, is because I've heard these conversations, and I've been a part of them too, where customers will be calling in and say, "I've only got a 2-bedroom apartment, so I don't need as much stuff. It should take an hour or 2." I'm like, well, it takes an hour to get there, typically, so there's 1 hour. But not 2 apartments are the same, If it's a single guy, it's a futon, a 90-inch television, a microwave, and
and the milk crates is the dining room table.
Crates, if you have a couple that has a kid, or if you have someone that's lived there for a while. I mean, I've seen a 2-bedroom apartment have 2 truckloads of items that get moved out of it. And I've seen one that didn't even have a third of 1 truck, so it's very, very all over the map. So that's why we do all of our quotes based on the volume of the furniture that needs to be moved. And then we can calculate how many hours it'll take to get it done.
I love when people try to explain what they have. It's my house is about probably 2,000 square feet. And you show up, it's like 3,400.
I don't have a whole lot of stuff. Well, okay, what do you got? Well, I got a bed. I got this. I got that. I got this. Do you have any outsourced furniture? Oh yeah, I got that too. And I got, what's your garage? Oh, I never even seen I don't even know what's in the garage. And I'm like, well, you should go out and take a look at it, And I don't need you to. Oh yeah, you do. So, the garage is the place that things go to die. So you never really understand what's in there anyway. So, until you have to move it all out. That's the worst part.
And then you're like, I didn't know I had that. Honey, look, we found it. Yeah, fill in the blank. Yeah. So on your website, I always enjoy going on websites and click on the About Us. And I found you guys. You had pictures of David, Katie, Rob, and Trent. Who are they?
The website hasn't been updated in a while, so there's a lot more names that have to be put on there. We have a new general manager. We have the salespeople. We have customer service people. So Katie is on maternity leave now.
All right.
So she is having a child, so she's going to be out for an indefinite period of time. She's one of the rock star customer service people that we had. Trent does sales. We have David is our CFO, David Lara, and but there's a lot of other people that are in the office now. We have 4 customer service reps in the office. We have a general manager. We have a sales manager. We have 4 people in operations. We have an operations supervisor and 3 operations assistants that do everything from dispatch to trucking to DOT, safety, everything. Van line, accountability, qualifications. We have a revenue person that just does revenue for the universities that we work with now, and so there's a lot of moving parts to it for sure.
And just to refresh everybody's memory about the value of BNI to your company, when you first started, remind everybody again how many employees there were.
It was myself and Rob, and we had 3 trucks and 4 guys, and
that was in 2015.
Mhm.
All right, folks, do the math. Do the math quick. So, looking towards December of 2019, so give it about a year and 3 months. What kind of plans, growth, expectations you guys looking at?
So right now, on the docket is for us to build our all-in-one independent warehouse, so that we can have a national dispatch from there. So right now, the plan is for doing about between 150 to 200,000 square feet. We've been in the process of trying to find land through our BNI commercial rep, and
They're happy.
yeah, so we're looking through all those things now. We've been on just such a tear on the growth side that we need more space. We need more parking. We need a lot of things. So I would expect by 2019 we will have had that determined, or even started in the process as far as building goes. We're already made offers on land and things like that, so we're well ahead of the process. But get everything under one roof and then build it out from there. So should be good.
Good deal. So stories like this are available in Triangle BNI. If you are starting a company, wanting to expand your company, please come visit one of our chapters. You meet people like Josh. He'll be able to pick his brain on how he can help you, how the other members of the chapter can help you, how you can grow. This is what BNI is all about. We thank you for joining us this week. Next week, Bill Davis with Team Nimbus will be our guest, and we'll see you next week on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.